Fourth Amendment advocacy with creating the Justice Initiative Protection Against Search and Seizure, one of the main components was centered around, or is centered around, explaining the investigative sphere, or showing folks what the limit to the investigative sphere is, which then emphatically tells you what they can and what they can't do. Now,
okay.
Go ahead.
So let's get into that a little bit, because the whole point of this podcast, the Remedy Report, is to report remedy, relief, and results, right? So we want to kind of segue into, let's just say, an example of what a problem would, not, I'm not gonna say problem, a situation where we're coming upon that is an investigative stop. What may happen? What are some different scenarios that you have seen or you're familiar with that you can explain to us that people can relate to, and then kind of walk us through where the violations is happening at. What would be the proper response to what they're doing, and where some of the breakdown in communication comes in between the person who's being detained and the actual officer, and then how the Fourth Amendment or how PASS comes into play, or how the investigative sphere comes into play, and kind of tie that in for us so we can understand why this is relevant and why we need to know this, why this is imperative.
Okay. All right, so I'd like to bring to individuals' attention, if we understood how to control the stop, we would eliminate 90% of the cascading issues that happen when we encounter law enforcement on the street.
Okay.
That's like the first line of defense is understanding how to effectively exercise your Fourth Amendment right. Otherwise, everything is in jeopardy, at that point. So here's an example centered around the investigative stop, knowing what the limitations are, knowing what the duties and the rights are. First of all, when it comes to law enforcement, they have one right, they have one duty. That is, they can investigate. Folks say, but they have all these other police powers and they can do this and they can do that. That's true, and it's not true. It's not true outside of the investigative sphere. Inside of the investigative sphere, they have all those, powers and everything that, they told you about. So the name of, I would say, the game would be understanding how not to get into the sphere, like how to understand what that limit is to stay, outside of that bound, because outside of the bound, it's understood and or known, the right and the duty of the officer is to investigate. That's it. It cuts off right there. Okay.